What was the sickest you've ever been? I'm sorry if you made a video about this. I just recently got into watching your videos. Keep up the good work. What's the sickest I've ever been? I got mononucleosis once. It's hard for me to, because sick to me implies like a virus or a bacterial infection or something. I'm sorry, I just moved. I just moved right along after the Trollolol song, but you know, what are you going to do? What else is left to be said? When I think sick, maybe, you know, I said on my videos a while back that I had my my gallbladder removed and an umbilical hernia repaired, and that was pretty bad. But when I think of sick, I think of like coughing, throwing up, and mononucleosis. And I don't know if any of you out there have had this. I'm sure some of you have. But I've heard it varies from person to person in intensity. I caught mononucleosis in high school at a party, because not in a fun way. You know, they call mononucleosis the kissing disease. I didn't even get it in a fun way. I got it because I drank after some chick that ended up getting it, and then I, you know, caught it from her. And mononucleosis for me was motherfucking awful. I mean, it was the worst fucking shit that ever happened to me. And there's a funny story attached to it, which I'd love to share with you. At the time, I was in high school, like I said, and I was working at a Blockbuster, a video store. And I woke up that day and got ready for work, and I noticed I was feeling real kind of gross. You know, throat was kind of scratchy, and just kind of feeling a little down in the dumps, and I ended up going into work anyway. And after I got to work, after being there for a couple of hours, I noticed I was feeling really, really bad, like, and like it just got worse and worse and worse to the point where I was like sweating. And at one point, my manager walked over to me and said, "Paul, are you okay?" And I said, "Yeah, I'm not feeling all that great." And she goes, "Well, like, how long are you here?" And I said, "I got like 5 more hours on my shift." She said, "You need to go home." She's like, "You look awful." And, you know, it's rare in a retail setting for somebody to like send you home, you know, because they're so desperate to have people come and work their full fucking shifts. But I must have looked awful. And so by this time, it was like getting into evening, or actually it was pretty late, because I think I was working the closing shift that night. So it was like, you know, 9 or 10 o'clock at night by the time she sent me home. And I was hungry. I felt like I could eat something and that might make me feel better. And so I drove by Jack in the Box on my way home, and I got like a jumbo Jack and some fries and a soda. And I go home, and I get home, and my parents at this point in time, they were out of town somewhere. They had gone on vacation or something, and they had left me and my little sister home by ourselves. I was well past the point where they had to get a babysitter or whatever. You know, they just were like, you know, no parties, no blah. They had rules, but we were allowed to stay. I think it was 17 or something by this point. And I got home, and all I wanted to do was eat this fucking Jumbo Jack and fall into my fucking bed and just sleep for the next, like, 48 hours. That's all I wanted. I walked into my house, and I noticed that it was, like, real dark, and my sister was nowhere to be found, but I was like, I don't care. Walked into my bedroom, and I flipped the light on, and I was greeted with a sight that a lot of teenage guys would be excited about, but I was so fucking sick. Well, excited about most of it, not my sister being involved, but, you know, I flick on the light, and there are 3 teenage girls, not counting my sister. My sister was on the floor next to the bed. 3 teenage girls, 14-year-old girls, in my bed, passed out, and there were signs of lots of drinking strewn around the room. There were beer cans and cheap, you know, Carlo Rossi wine bottles, and it's obvious that my sister had a bunch of friends over. They'd gotten really drunk really fast, and they'd all decided for whatever fucking reason to pass out in my room. Now, normally, I would have seen that, and I would have been like, okay, fine, fuck it, let them, you know, I'll go sleep on the couch, or I'll go sleep in her room, and blah, blah, you know, because I wanted to be a cool brother, but at this time, I was like, no. I'm so sick, I just want to sleep in my bed. And so I woke my sister up, and I said, look, you need to, I don't know what happened, and I don't care, you need to get these girls up out of my room and take them up to your room. You have a bedroom. Take them up there, guys, pass out up there. I'm sick, I need my bed, please, just get up. And my sister woke up and was fucking belligerent. Said, fuck you, we're fucking passed out. If I came home and you were passed out in my room, I wouldn't fuck with you. And I said, look, I understand that, but I need to sleep in my bed. Could you please get your friends out of my room? Please, I'm just asking you this favor. I'm so sick. Please just let me be in my bed. I need to be comfortable in my bed tonight. Please. Fuck you. She's belligerent. And I said, look, here's how it's going to go down. I've got my Jack in the Box. I'm going to go out on the front lawn, and I'm going to sit on the lawn, and I'm going to eat my hamburger and my french fries, and I'm going to drink my soda. By the time that I'm done eating my meal, you and all these bitches are going to be out of my room and up in your bedroom. I tried to ask nicely, so now I'm just telling you how it's going to be. That's what's going to happen. You're going to remove these girls from my room and take them to your room. And she had this stunned look on her face, and I did exactly like I said. I walked out of my room, walked out in the front yard, sat down, on the grass opposite my car that was in the driveway, and started eating my french fries. And about, 2 or 3 minutes later, I'd only eaten a few french fries and maybe a bite of my hamburger. My sister comes out, and she's thrown on like a pair of pajama pants or something, and she is fucking loud and obnoxious and belligerent. She goes, "You don't fucking come in and call my friends bitches. Who the fuck do you think that you are? You motherfucker. You don't come fucking tell me what to do. You're not the fucking boss." But, just being a fucking typical belligerent, angry, drunk asshole. And I was so done. I was so done. So I'm sitting there, and I've got my hamburger in my hand. And she goes, "I dare you. I dare you to call my friends bitches again. I dare you." And she's, getting uncomfortably close to me. And I'm sitting Indian style on the ground. She's still standing up, all hunched over, kind of looking at me. And so I thought about it for a second and very unceremoniously said, "Your friends are drunk bitches. Now what?" And right after I said that, my sister reared back and slapped me in the face. Now, at this point, I had a few options. And I weighed them very quickly in my mind. I said, can't hit your sister, so let's get rid of that. Can't really tackle your sister or bodily pick her up because that's going to make a lot of noise. Somebody's going to call the cops and see it happen, and then my dad is going to come home and have a fucking fit because there's alcohol all over my room. It's all the way bad. And then I started taking stock of what I had. I said, okay, I'm on the grass. I'm sitting Indian style. I've got soda, I've got some french fries, and I've got this hamburger. That sounds about right. So I stood up very slowly, hefting the hamburger in my hand, and she's rolling her, doing the teenage girl thing. Yeah, I told you, motherfucker, not to say anything. You had to put... And right in the middle of a sentence, I reared back with this hamburger. And as I turned my hand like this, the top bun fell off, exposing all of the gooey tomato and onion drippings and pickle. So that I go like this. The top bun just naturally falls off. And I reared back and I smashed this fucking thing into her face with such velocity that a tomato flew out of the side of it. So you got to picture this, right? We're on the grass. My car is in the driveway. She's standing in between me and my car, rolling her. I hit her so hard, the velocity was such of this hamburger that a tomato flew off and hit the side of my car and stuck there. And didn't even fucking fall off. It just, with all the juicy, greasy, hamburger meat and mayo and tomato, it just stuck. And then I, brushed my hands off and looked at her, and she was fucking flabbergasted. Absolutely, you could tell that she had probably prepared herself for me to try and hit her back or to try and grab her, but getting a face full of ground beef and condiments and wilted lettuce was not in it was not in her contingency plan. You know what I mean? And so she was absolutely flabbergasted, and it's one of the only times where I've dealt, and you got to understand, growing up the way I did, I've had my fair share of dealings with drunk idiots. It was one of the only times that I dealt with a drunk idiot that it worked out fucking flawlessly. She stood there for a second, fucking mustard and pieces of meat in her teeth and shit, stared at me, did an about face, walked back into the house. I plopped back down, you know, and now I've ruined my hamburger, but I still had a fry. So I ate my fries, drank my Coke, and when I went back in, not only were the girls out of my room, but all of the beer cans had been cleaned up, all of the wine bottles were gone. She even turned my bed back. I mean, it was glorious. It worked out perfectly. Unfortunately for me, the reason I was so sick and feeling and needed my bed so much was because I was coming down with mononucleosis. I woke up the next day and felt like I was dying. Literally felt like I was dying. My throat was fucking on fire. My lungs felt like they were at like 10% capacity, and the other 90% of my lung capacity had been filled with this deep, dark brown, viscous phlegm. You know what I mean? And my stomach hurt. I had the worst headache in the fucking world, and I was lucky that I only existed a day like that. My sister never came down. I assume she was still pissed because I made her eat a hamburger the hard way. She never came down and checked on me all day, and so the only time I got out of bed that whole day was to piss. And then the next day, my dad came home, and my stepmom came in to my room to tell me something and saw me and was like, "Oh my God!" and took me to the doctor, and I got diagnosed. And it was like a week and a half before I have any memory of that period. I ran such a high fever and slept so much of the time that I have very vague memories from that whole week and a half period. I remember waking up one time. This is really gross, so you might, I remember waking up one time, and my bed was in the corner of the room, so it was right up against one of the walls. And my walls were a normal colored white type of wall. And I remember waking up and having to cough really bad, but it hurt really bad. And I remember going, coughing, and this blob of phlegm flew out and splattered against the wall and kind of dripped down. And I was so fucked up and just incapable that I didn't even care. And so I just left it there and woke up and saw it the next day, But it was a week and a half, maybe even 2 weeks before I was able to, function as a human being. And I don't ever remember being sicker than that.